In the inbox late night, glowing screens see the light. Do-do-do, email, everything feels alright.
Three things that have to match up. You're unifying the message between retention and ads, making sure that message is cohesive, and also ways that we measure it. If you don't want to tell people, hey, blue widgets, you gotta have blue widgets, and then they open an email and it says, oh man, it's gotta be red widgets. If you don't want that going on, you or someone else must be auditing and fixing this at all times, and then justifying the work quantitatively. It's the world's best email and retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilot House email and customer retention team. I'm in the Pilot House head office today, so I thought I'd sit down and put a little bit of a between two ferns kind of setup with a whiteboard, and we can just have a whiteboard session. Today, we are going to discuss how to bring all this together. So we've gone down a lot of different rabbit holes. We've discussed where's the revenue come from, hey, here's some tactics for driving some purchases, super high level, what are different strategies, some, a whole bunch of different stuff we covered in Black Friday, which actually will carry, the learnings there will carry forward. But I was just in some discussions with the team here, and they were talking about how much effort and focus it takes to join email with your ads channels. So I thought, hey, every time someone says to me, oh yeah, this thing's a hassle, I think to myself, oh, that's perfect content. Because if somebody who's doing it every day says, oh, this is this thorn in my side, clearly our audience out there is also having challenges with that. So I thought I'd just go through and talk about some of the ways that we think about unifying the message between retention and ads, making sure that message is cohesive, and also ways that we measure it. Okay? So first of all, of course, it is a 2x2 grid. I got a Bachelor of Commerce, so I'm a 2x2 grid kind of guy. We've got here quantitative and qualitative, quant and qual. And up top, we've got funnel and broad. So funnel would be like conversion funnels, CRO, right? And broad would be broadcast messaging. We don't mean broadcast like television, although you could be using digital advertising through digital TV. That's certainly a thing. But more just in general, messages that are broadcast equally through all the channels. Now, when we think about funnel and broadcast, these just by their very nature are sources of friction, because we put together a conversion funnel and we let it run for as long as we possibly can. Because once it's optimized, we want it doing its job, right? And you can keep tweaking it and improving it and adding and testing. And then you've got this hyper effective funnel that just converts traffic. Hey, if you leave that thing running for a year, great. Meanwhile, your broadcast channel, that's where you can't say the same thing through your broadcast channel. The broadcast messages go to everyone, whether it's top of funnel ads and of course email, whatever it is, your quarterly kind of seasonal launch, big new products, etc. You tell everybody about these. And so it's always changing because your business is always changing, and because you do need to change up your broadcast message, or you're just saying the same thing always. So where's the friction? Well, here you got some funnel stuff that's been running the same way for a year. And here you got your broadcast message, which has evolved. After some time, they're saying different things. And I will give as an example our VP of Sales, Dan Norcia, an example that he uses often. I'm not sure the brand, but it was a health products brand. And we had a situation where there was an ad, and it was the hero shot on model, whatever, was a svelte woman in yoga gear, and it was some kind of product that would appeal to that customer. And then you click on the ad and it goes to the homepage, and the homepage is like two super jacked dudes, and there's like a creatine powder, right? Classic example of, wait a second, total disconnect. So let's discuss some things to think about to bring all this together cleanly. Up here under funnel, let's just talk about three things that have to match up. Your welcome message and the awareness layer of your ads funnel. So your ads are spreading awareness, bringing people in. That should match what's happening in your welcome email, because someone is going to make it down that funnel and they're going to subscribe, right? Then you've got kind of post-purchase and remarketing. Now I use remarketing and retargeting here. Honestly, in my career, I've found different people use remarketing, retargeting in different ways. I'll just use the standard that I've seen recently, which is remarketing is for the second purchase and retargeting is for someone who came through the awareness funnel and walked away, and we draw them back in with a layer down in advertising. So your post-purchase message and your remarketing message should obviously match up. After someone buys, we're speaking to them. They're in a new funnel. They're in the become a repeat buyer funnel, become one of our advocates. Those messages should match up. And then finally, win back and retargeting. This is kind of interesting because for at least for what we do, we will try to speak to someone in an automated fashion for a long time, a couple of years. I mean, it depends on the brand, right? It depends on the engagement of the audience. But, the philosophy here is no address left behind. So we could be bringing someone back from a long time ago with winback. I mean, if winback converts, great. But if it doesn't convert, the secondary desirable outcome is they visit the site, they get back into remarketing, they get into site abandon, browser abandon, cart abandon, they get into your campaign window, they just get back into the party. So we need to make sure that whatever you're saying in winback is going to match up with the subsequent ads that they're going to be getting in retargeting. And of course, your people who pass through awareness also go into retargeting. So you have to consider that your qualitative brand message in winback and welcome need to add up. And the simple example is up front, you're saying, red widgets. It's got to be red widgets all the way. And then on the back end, you haven't touched your winback forever, and it's saying, it's got to be blue widgets, right? Those things, that can't happen. So those are the touch points that you need to look at to link them up. And let's talk about the quantitative aspect of this for a moment. Ads form fill rate. Okay, we're thinking about leads that we generate through ads. Well, an ads form fill rate means you need to have a specific ads post-click experience, a specific landing page for your ads. If you need help with this, Pilot House CRO team can certainly help. But just consider, hey, let's have an ads form fill rate so we can really quantify how big is this thing that we're trying to put together, and is it improving? Your ads revenue over your welcome revenue. So ads platform over welcome platform. It'd be like ads meta over welcome Klaviyo or something like that. And organic revenue over welcome revenue. So this is interesting. Basically, when you take those two, when you look at those two, the larger one is the one that requires more weighting in your thinking. If your ads revenue over welcome is significantly higher than your organic over welcome, then you need to pay more attention to the intersection of ads and welcome over organic and welcome. Now, organic rev, let's just say non-brand, of course, right? Now, why not just say ads versus organic? Well, the fact that you're using the ratio, that's showing you, are these things gaining prominence over your email program over time? If welcome revenue starts to shrink as a share of these, if the ratio really starts going up, basically, then your welcome's falling behind. So I think it's just worth thinking about those to size things up, trending them over time. You can just do it quarterly. Buyer revenue divided by remarketing revenue. So that really looks like what was going on up there. We were looking at our post-purchase message and our remarketing message. So of course you've got your welcome and prospect campaigns are prospect revenue. Post-purchase and buyer campaigns are buyer revenue. And basically any automation that starts with placed order is buyer revenue. Any automation that starts with subscribed is prospect revenue. Automations that start with active on site, viewed product, cart, checkout, those are abandonment, and we just assume that those are the same mix of buyer to prospect as your kind of campaigns. It's a safe bet. Point being, you can gather your buyer revenue by just looking at because you've been listening to the world's best email and retention podcast. So of course you separate your prospect segments from your buyer segments and campaigns. You can break this down and you can say, okay, well, look at how much buyer rev are we generating versus our remarketing rev. And buyer rev is of course in Klaviyo. So we're getting an idea. How big is this pair? How big is the experience of post-purchase and ads remarketing? So Klaviyo post-purchase experience, ads remarketing experience, how big is that? So how much focus we need to put into it. And also kind of if it's improving over time. And then finally, winback clicks versus retargeting audience. Why clicks? Because as we discussed, winback, most people, usually it's not driving a purchase. It's driving someone getting back into your overall digital experience, getting back into the party. So you want to know how many clicks are you driving from winback versus the size of your retargeting audience. You got to talk to your ads manager for that. And that which gives you an idea. Look, how big is this as a share of this? How good are we at bringing people back into this? And is it kind of increasing or shrinking over time? So, wow, that's a lot, right? I mean, should you be running that every week? No. Like I say, I think a lot of the stuff you can probably look at it quarterly and then optimize from there. Look at it and then, like as always, try to find 2 or 3 really killer optimizations. Run those optimizations. Look at the numbers. See if they worked or didn't work. Learn and move on. Don't spend your time on busy work. Use this to find some really, really good optimizations and move on. Okay, wow, that was exciting. That was how to unify email and ads through your funnel business. Now let's talk about broadcast. Broadcast, of course, is the big vistas, the on-model shots, drinking espressos at the cafe, right? We discussed the Coke Classic versus Pepsi, the taste of a new generation. I mean, there's no funnel stage where that links up. That's like the overall message, right? Well, we talked about this. I forget which pod it was. We talked about this. We're gonna go through it again. So sorry for the repeat, but all this stuff fits together. So now we just talked about this. Now we can talk about where it fits. So let's just run it again really quick, okay? So in the broad message, what are we thinking about? We're thinking about the consumer is thinking about, what world is this brand in? And if I was in that world, would I be safe and desired? Just getting back to our animalistic, we're all just cavemen, with cell phones kind of thinking, right? What world is this brand in? And if I was in this world, would I be safe and desired? A layer down, okay, we can start getting a little bit more out of kind of our lizard brain and into, reason, starting to use some reason here. Okay, what's the pain point resolution? What's the pain point that this product resolves? How does this product make my life better? And then down to the tightest, okay, well, let's say I've connected with the brand and I can see how they're trying to improve my life. Differentiators. Why would I pick this brand over the next one? Why is this brand special? So this is positioning. Positioning is the 3-way intersection of audience, competitors, and differentiators. And your differentiators are what you are to your audience. How you're different from your competitors is what you are to your audience. So these things These things get pushed out, like I say, once a quarter. You come up with your big idea, your big concept, the stuff that you're going to push all the way at the very top of your funnel. You're going to push that out. And you're going to push it out, buyer revenue. You're going to push it out to your entire audience. All the email addresses get it. That's what you do with your broadcast. You broadcast it. You tell the whole world, and you try to change the purchasing behavior of large segments of the economy or the market. The bigger you are, the bigger you go. Look, when you do this, when you build this, you have to go in and make sure your funnel points match. I'm sure I've said this on the pod before. Less is more, right? The smaller and tighter your email program is, like, hey, 20 automated emails, just 20 automated emails built with lots of dynamic content. Hey, build them HTML so you can go in and just edit the text and maybe drag in some new pictures. Oh, we got some new on-model shots of the guys climbing the mountain. Drag in some of those shots. Boom, you're updated. Go in and change a bit of the text, drag in the shot, done. No Photoshop files. If you are going to do full design, of course, hopefully you have some essential products that are always on, always in stock, so you don't have to actually go in and change that. And then you probably just try to get away with pushing out your broadcast, and everyone comes in and they say, now I'm seeing the stuff that's always on. They kind of get it. This is the stuff that's always on. But if you've changed the concept, if you've changed the angle, the deep angle that you are trying to convince people on, you got to change that deep angle over here. So let's go through some of the quantitative, and then we'll wrap this exciting episode up. Okay. So very top line here, repeat rate. Why do I have repeat rate there? Look, we're talking about how important is stuff that's going on here. Okay. When we go in and we, for instance, as we discussed earlier, go into Klaviyo and we separate everything that goes to buyers from everything that goes to prospects, and we do buyer revenue divided by buyer revenue plus prospect revenue, we get the share of revenue in Klaviyo that's coming from buyers. We assume that the conversion funnel support has the same rate, so we just kind of pull that out of the calculation. But that's like the share of Klaviyo that's buyer revenue. And you're going to find it's over 50%, most of the time, unless you're like a single SKU kind of brand. If you've got like a decent size catalog, it's mostly buyer revenue, right? 2/3, something like that. So that's an important rate to know, but it's platform. So it's just Klaviyo, right? And it kind of just talks about, well, how much is Klaviyo interacting with stuff that's coming in from the top of the funnel? Repeat rate, that's in Shopify. That's just bottom line. Bottom line, what's our repeat rate? So kind of the higher that is, the more important all the stuff that we're talking about here is, and getting it to link up, right? Especially down here when we talk about the post-purchase and the remarketing. So always, this should be a rate that you're paying attention to if you are working on email and customer retention, like we are. Getting a little more specific, let's talk about platform and GA4. Okay, so we're thinking about how are we measuring our broadcast channel, right? And its effect, what it's doing, so we know how important it is, how important our email broadcast is versus the broadcast that's happening in our other channels, which will help us decide how much jigging we have to do here. So ads versus email, X day revenue. I don't know if our ads team wants us sharing our attribution windows. I don't know. I'm not going to share the attribution windows we use. That might be a trade secret. But let's just imagine 1 day click, 5 day click, 15 day click, 30 day click, right? Whatever it is. 1 day impression, 5 day impression, 15 day impression, 30 day impression. Probably not 30 day impression. That's probably not kind of an attribution window we're using. That's pretty loose. But point being, whatever that window is, you can go into Klaviyo and you can repeat it. So you can have the same apples to apples view of how of platform attributed revenue. I know I said we were going to do an attribution focused episode, and probably eventually we will, but I'm borrowing ahead a little bit. There you go. Why not attribute all your channels exactly the same. An open is an impression, a click is a click, right? So kind of get those so you can see, okay, how much of this really big, this is broadcast essentially. Like if you look at campaigns, because it'll split it up by campaigns. That's broadcast. Campaign is broadcast, and flow and automation is funnel, or flows are funnel, basically. Okay, there's that Klaviyo percent buyer rev. We just discussed that. Sorry, I was jumping ahead. So what portion of what's happening in Klaviyo is buyer? And the interesting thing is you can put those two together and you can get this interesting platform ROI where you put in the costs for, you should have your ads manager should know what the platform ROI is for ads. It's just going to be the costs divided by their platform revenue. Well, you can do the same thing for yourself. You can put your ROI, you can put your costs, which are going to be very low, and the revenue, which will be quite decent, and you're going to get this crazy ROI. I mean, if you're a decent size, it's like ROI 10. Happens all the time, right? Really good ROIs. But then you apply that buyer percentage of revenue. Let's say let's just pick round numbers. It was 60% buyer, and you had ROI 10. That would be buyer ROI 6. So, okay, well, that means we're applying all the cost towards the buyer revenue, the repeat revenue in Klaviyo. Why would we do that? Well, of course, Klaviyo is helping with those new buyers that come in, but of course, that's an assist. Of course, credit for new customers goes to your ads channel. You have to give the credit where the credit's due. They're working really hard, building audiences, bringing people in, right? Yeah, of course, welcome assists, getting in the inbox and squeezing the rag assists. But what I recommend is you just give that credit to the ads channels, and then you talk about your repeat ROI, because it's going to be massive anyway. I just said 60% with ROI 10, you're ROI 6. Well, ROI 6, that's pretty good compared to ads, right? So pretty easy to justify what's going on here. Anyway, that's your kind of platform to ROIs. And you can like I say, you can also break it down by campaign and flow within Klaviyo. And so then you can start thinking about, okay, how are we doing at broadcast? How's email doing at broadcast? How important? How big is it? How important is it? How prominent is it for me to go in and fix and spend all the time, go through all the work to fix this and make sure our funnels make sense, And bottom line, like I said, have a nice tight email program, and it's going to be very easy for you to go in and make those fixes. Okay, last thing here, go into Google Analytics 4. User acquisition percent of revenue. So go into user acquisition in GA4, just on the top left, right? What percent is paid? What percent is email? And there's probably going to be set up, you're going to use your default channels, or use kind of, your kind of source medium, whatever you're doing. So user acquisition is first click. And then you've got traffic acquisition. Same thing. What share of your revenue is email? What share is paid? What share is direct and organic, right? Okay, traffic acquisition is last click. So why are both views important? Well, obviously, email's killer for last click, right? So it's important to just have both views so that you're ready whenever you're speaking with people in your organization, or you're looking at your own kind of business as an entrepreneur. You want to have a real good understanding. We just looked at the platform. We checked out platform versus platform. Well, here's unified. So how prominent is email in that unified view? And then look, average the two. And it's basically the same as even attribution, which I think even attribution recently got pulled or downgraded in Google Analytics 4. Not sure. I just use these two. I just like to use the simple stuff, right? I'm a real simple kind of guy. So anyway, just average the two. I mean, if you are being studious about your business, you should be looking at your share of revenue from different channels on a monthly basis. So then you go to your spreadsheet and you just do the calculations and have it automatically update. So you've automatically got your even attribution, which is the average of first click and last click. And that is going to give you, again, another view of how big is email in my broadcast message versus ads, Am I growing email in my broadcast message? Is what's happening in my broadcast message prominent and important enough that I have to go in and look at all of these touch points in the funnel and update those messages so that ads match email and so that broad matches funnel. Okay, wow. Big talk. You can see why we were having this discussion, which is like, oh, this is this thorn in my side. It's a thorn in everybody's side. So look, if you need help with this, we'll help you with this. Give us a call. You don't want to be checking all this stuff out. You know, you're going to have an exciting life. Just pay someone else to do this for you. Go to pilothouse.co, fill out the lead form, say I'd like to speak with Jordan Gordon or any of our traffic heads that you see on the channels, and we will tackle this for you, this massive thorn in your side, and then you can go out and enjoy your life or focus on your inventory or whatever else is going on. Closing comment, lots of brands that are like 2-3 million domain, revenue, whatever. This is like a mess for a lot of those brands. So it is worth it. If you're not going to put the time in, if you don't want to tell people, hey, blue widgets, you got to have blue widgets, and then they open an email and it says, oh man, it's got to be red widgets. If you don't want that going on, you or someone else must be auditing and fixing this at all times and then justifying the work quantitatively. Thank you for your time as always. It was lovely joining you here in the Pilot House studio, and have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey entrepreneurs and spammers, remember, you can't scale without email, and the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.